name is Connor Mead, and I'm here today at the 2016 Canadian Science Policy Conference. And joining me today is Dr. Rees, who is a full professor and University Research Chair in Experimental Evolution at University of Ottawa. So Rees, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks,
it's a pleasure
Connor.
to have you.
Great to be here.
So to jump right into it, I wonder if you'd like to speak to the elephant in the room at this year's Canadian Science Policy Conference, which is currently November 9th, 2016. The presidential election was yesterday. What do you think the result means for global science policy?
That's a great question, Connor, and I'm glad we're talking about it because I think I won't comment directly on what it means for global science policy. I think everybody's watching. I think Canada has a unique role to play here. We have been traditionally a middle power, but our researchers, of which I'm a part of that community, we are, all of us, especially those who are sort of on the more junior spectrum of our careers, have extensive experience typically around the world. We have networks, we collaborate, and we're more mobile and more connected than ever before. So the leadership opportunity I see for Canada is to exploit those networks and position Canada as a research leader, as a science policy leader, and as a leader more generally in the international space. I'm really concerned, to be honest, that with Brexit in the UK and the dissolution of that compact and understanding that the EU represents, and now with the results of the presidential election with the US electorate, taking on or wanting a leader who seems to be rather antagonistic to the sorts of things that science and science policy do, means that there's a space internationally for global leadership, and I think it's Canada's opportunity and challenge to seize that.
So what do you think are some things that we can do to seize this opportunity in this moment?
We have to keep forming better relationships globally through soft diplomacy. We should put our resources into encouraging students to come to Canada, have positive experience, and researchers have positive experiences in Canada. We should encourage Canadians to go abroad and get those different experiences so they can come back. That cultivates a better overall understanding of the world and our particular role in it. And I think more practically, there is a role for the federal government and other major institutions nationally and internationally to work at developing and strengthening global institutions that have science at their core. And maybe these I haven't quite figured out for myself yet, but they might be existing institutions. I think of IPCC in the UN, the WHO, and so on. It could be new institutions. I particularly have an interest in antimicrobial resistance. I think this is a huge threat, and it's a wicked problem, as some people will describe it. It involves science, it involves macroeconomics, it involves governance, it involves the agricultural community, the health community, and so on, and the pharma community, the discovery community. And we don't have really, I think, the global institutions necessary to tackle that problem specifically. But that's just one example of a suite that I could point to, like climate change, like drought, water security, food security. These are all issues. I think we could also do more in promoting leadership and capacity building, particularly in the scientific community around the world and in the research community more broadly. And I'd like to see Canada take a lead in that.
So what do you think we could do to like on a practical level, like in the next 6 months to be leaders on that front?
That's a really good question. I think one strong signal that's in the right direction was just recently, I think it was last week, the federal government announced changes to the work visa program, so to get highly skilled talent, to shorten the time for bringing talented skilled workers into the country and get their visa processed down from something like 6 months to 3 years to 2 weeks. I think we could do the same thing for researchers. The science visas, so-called. That would be one small but important step. I particularly have an interest in science leadership and capacity building. I think the country could convene a meeting of of institutions, organizations, and individuals who are active in this space, and an international meeting to talk about ways in which science can be supported to take stronger leadership roles. And I think we need to invigorate the discussion around antimicrobial resistance and lead on that. Those are my personal views. There may be many others that I haven't thought about as deeply, and I'm sure others are thinking about this. I'm sure many are thinking about this right now.
Well, we've had less than 24 hours to do that thinking.
Yeah.
So what do you think would be some of the positive social and economic outcomes for Canada by taking on this leadership role? What's the value in doing these?
Oh, the value is in constructing a strong reputation abroad. Okay. That itself generates those positive experiences that people have of the country. Means they're more likely to come here on vacations, spend tourist dollars here. It means that we'll have access to the global pool of talent, either in for short-term stays or hopefully even longer-term stays. We have the need for talent. And we have an incredible education system, tertiary education system, that is the envy of the world, really. And I think we should be exploiting that. Not exploiting it, exploit is the wrong word. I think we should be selling that and making it easier to share that with the world. And I think that by doing that, not only are we going to get the proximate sort of impact of tourist dollars, but we're going to get the talent required to develop Canadian businesses, develop the Canadian research capacity, respond effectively to global challenges, emergencies. We need, when they're happening around the world or in Canada, often have global dimensions. We need the people on the ground to be able to work with those effectively, and I think that's the value to the country.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much for joining us, Rees. It's been an absolute pleasure chatting, and I really hope you enjoy the rest of the conference.
Thanks, Connor.
Pleasure meeting you.
Nice to meet you.